Namaskar. Political developments in West Bengal, they are taking center stage after several leaders continue to leave the ruling TMC and repose their trust and faith in the Bharatiya Janata Party. We'll be putting this into context in the light of the senior BJP leader Amit Shah's visit to West Bengal. You're watching Newsnight. My name is Mark Lynn. Let's begin with the headlines. Amit Shah takes on Mamata Banerjee in West Bengal and warns her that BJP will win more than 200 seats in 2021 polls, accuses her of stalling central government schemes because of political compulsions, breaks bread with farmers home in Midnapur, pays floral tributes to Swami Vivekananda and Khudiram Bose. Union Home Minister Amit Shah welcomes high-profile Trinamool Congress rebel Subhendu Adhikari and several others to the BJP at a mega rally in West Bengal's Paschimi Midnapur. Subhendu Adhikari writes an open letter to political activists to join forces to bring back the glory of West Bengal. Prime Minister delivers keynote address at ASSOCHAM Foundation Week, says that the government is building an Atmanirbhar Bharat, asserts sentiment has shifted from why India to why not India, calls for more investment in R&D. The eighth and final round of District Development Council polls conclude in Jammu and Kashmir. The fate of 168 candidates for 28 seats sealed, counting to be held on December 22. In Assam, the BJP wins 33 out of 36 seats in Thiva Autonomous Council polls. Union Health Minister chairs the 22nd meeting of the GAM on COVID-19, says recovery rate from corona in India is 95% and India's performance is the best in the world. The death rate is at 1.45%. Vaccination of 30 crore people to start soon. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh criticizes Pakistan for nefarious activities on the border, says that even after losing 4 wars, Pakistan is fighting a proxy war through terror. Defence Minister attends the passing out parade at the Air Force Academy in Dundigal. Senior RSS Vicharak Madhav Govind Vaidya dies at the age of 97 in Nagpur, Maharashtra. He had served in several important positions, including as spokesperson for the RSS. Prime Minister expresses his grief. Indian Panorama Film selection for the 51st International Film Festival of India 2020 is announced. A total of 43 films to be screened, including 23 feature films and 20 non-feature films. Information Broadcasting Minister tweets about this information. IFFI to be held from January 16 to January 24 in Goa. And in sports, India is trounced in the Adelaide Test on day 3 after being bowled out for its lowest ever Test score. Australia wins the Test by 8 wickets, taking a 1-0 lead in the 4-match series. Our top story then, former Trinamool Congress leader Subhendu Adhikari today joined the BJP at a rally addressed by the senior BJP leader and Union Minister, Home Minister Amit Shah in West Bengal. And he was among a string of leaders who had joined from the TMC and the left and the Congress. So Amit Shah asked the public to ponder why so many leaders were leaving other parties and reposing their trust in the BJP. Here's our report.
आपने 3 दशक तक कांग्रेस को मौका दिया है या नहीं दिया? दिया है ना? कम्युनिस्टों को 27 साल मौका दिया है या नहीं दिया? ममता दीदी को 10 साल दिया है या नहीं दिया? एक 5 साल भारतीय जनता पार्टी को दे दीजिए, हम बंगाल को सोनार बांग्ला बनाकर रहेंगे.
Union Home Minister and senior BJP leader Amit Shah sending out a signal at the start of his two-day West Bengal tour. Addressing a public meeting in Midnapur, Amit Shah tore into Mamata Banerjee's governance record, exposing the state's deteriorating law and order under the Trinamool banner. Amit Shah spoke firmly about the harsh reality of political violence in the state.
दीदी, कान खोल कर सुन लो. आज लाखों लोगों की हाजिरी में कहने आया हूं मैं, जब विधानसभा के चुनाव का परिणाम आए, परिणाम देख लेना. इस बार 200 सीटों से ज्यादा सीटों के साथ भारतीय जनता पार्टी की सरकार बनने जा रही है.
Amit Shah said West Bengal has been victim to a corrupt administration. The general public have been suffering the effects of tolabazi, bribery and gundaraj, because of which the slogan of Ma, Mati, Manush has lost its meaning.
आदमी जब दल बदलता है तो काफी सोच विचार कर बदलता है, क्योंकि ये जो लोग आ रहे हैं वो मां माटी मानुष के नारे के साथ निकले थे. नारा किसी भी पार्टी का हो बुरा नहीं होता, मगर आपने क्या करा, मां माटी मानुष के नारे को टोलबाजी, तुष्टीकरण और भतीजावाद में परिवर्तित कर दिया.
The BJP has mounted a fierce challenge to the ruling Trinamool Congress on the plank of development. The party claims that because of political compulsions, the TMC has not implemented many important central schemes, thus depriving farmers and the poor of the state from genuine development. Before addressing the public meeting in Midnapur, Amit Shah, BJP General Secretary Kailash Vijayvargiya and Bengal BJP Chief Dilip Ghosh shared a meal at a farmer's home in Belijuri village of West Midnapur. Amit Shah empathized with their hardships and expressed his anguish later at the public meeting.
अभी एक किसान के घर पर मैं भोजन कर कर आया. मैंने पूछा कि 6,000 रुपया मिला है. उन्होंने कहा नहीं मिला है. मैंने बोला एक घर कहां से बना है, कब बनाया, कहां से लोन ली? तो उसने कहा लोन नहीं ली, मोदी जी ने प्रधानमंत्री आवास योजना का घर मुझे दिया है, इसमें बैठकर आप भोजन करें.
Such is the state of affairs in West Bengal that the internal rebellion has intensified within the Trinamool Congress and other like-minded parties. On Saturday itself, this rebellion was clear as daylight, when apart from TMC, erstwhile members of the left and Congress also joined the BJP. They include 1 MP, 9 MLAs, 1 former minister, 1 MOS, 15 councillors, 45 chairmen and 2 district panchayat presidents, all who joined the BJP. Before making the shift, former TMC heavyweight Shubhendu Adhikari thanked Amit Shah and PM Modi. Amit Shah welcomed Shubhendu Adhikari into the party and asked the public to ponder why so many leaders were leaving other parties and reposing their trust in the BJP. Shubhendu Adhikari has written an open letter to TMC workers questioning the policies and intentions of the Mamata Banerjee government. He alleged that the party is full of nepotism, where inexperienced leaders are promoted bypassing leaders who built the party from scratch. West Bengal has a rich and glorious cultural heritage. Amit Shah paid homage to this cultural heritage. He paid floral tribute to Swami Vivekananda at the Ramakrishna Ashram, Siddeshwari, Midnapur. He offered prayers at the Kali temple and prayed for the prosperity of the state. Amit Shah also visited the birthplace of Khudiram Bose, one of the youngest martyrs and revolutionaries against the British Raj, who was martyred in 1908. He spent time with the current generation of his family members. Assembly elections are due in West Bengal next year. The political traction from Amit Shah's visit could well indicate winds of change for the upcoming assembly elections. Newsnight Desk, DD India. Now that brings us to In Focus tonight, and In Focus is this. Political upheaval in West Bengal is in focus tonight. And to take us through this discussion, we have with us, joining us, R. Rajagopalan, senior journalist, and Shekhar Iyer, also joining us, Shekhar Iyer and R. Rajagopalan. So let's first try and understand, Mr. Rajagopalan, this letter that Shubhendu Adhikari has written, and he says that, you know, the people who are calling him a traitor are traitors themselves. And he also says that, well, the Trinamool Congress is a party that's full of nepotism. It's only been looking at its own selfish interests. It's not really interested in it's giving party posts to people who have done nothing in the party. He's expressing resentment within the party itself. But is this really the story of what is actually happening in West Bengal, or are they, is there something deeper?
Something deeper. Mark, what you have said is absolutely correct. Suvendu Adhikari's letter is an explanatory one,
yes,
and he has opened a Pandora's box. Apart from that, deviating from Mr. Suvendu's letter, and today's Amit Shah's biggest rally, huge rally, and tomorrow also he's going to be in West Bengal. He's going to have one more rally. And what does this thing indicate? The basic problem is Prashant Kishore Pandey,
yes,
an analyst who is helping the Mamata Banerjee Didi on TMC, and Suvendu's personal grudge is against Abhishek Banerjee, nephew of Mamata Banerjee, and on Prashant Kishore. These are the two crux of the problem. And if you open that, if you zoom it further, you will understand that Prashant Kishore did not allow the old gods of TMC to be nearer to Mamata Banerjee. Apart from that, administration-wise, Mamata Banerjee is slippery and her government has lost its control. BJP groundswell is more.
yes.
These are all certain facts, and more to it. 140 or 150 RSS BJP workers have been murdered, killed, and shot down, whatever that. Kailash Vijayvargiya's long stay in West Bengal as observer of the center, and Amit Shah's frequent visit. Today, as I go nearer to the political scene, today Mr. Amit Shah's intention is to convert the electioneering as Mamata Didi versus Narendra Modi. And if that happens, you wait and watch what Amit Shah said, 200 seats is going to be a major sweep for BJP, because the groundswell is there. That is why the entire attraction of a lot of political leaders attracted towards BJP. That is what I could summarize. And JP Nadda's Corcade was told was a turning point in West Bengal politics, which Mamata Didi did not realize it at that time. She is repenting for that.
Okay, Mr. Shekhar Iyer, so it's the TMC has been accused by those who've left the party of trying to build this insider versus outsider tag, and that has been pretty much visible for people also to take note of. But and they have said that the BJP stands for nationalism. It stands for nation building, policies of development. How would you look at is this like a vote against the TMC, or is it a vote for the BJP in a sense? Those leaving, as the Home Minister and senior BJP leader said, that people should ponder as to why people are joining the BJP and reposing trust in it.
Mark, if you look at the first elections that was held in 2011, which brought Mamata Banerjee to power, she had promised a lot of changes. In fact, she called it Poriborton.
Yes.
And the feeling was that she is going to put an end to the past history of Bengal, which had seen a cycle of political violence, witch hunting, and terrorizing voters. These were some of the legacy she inherited from the left rule from 1977 to 2011. Now, but what happened was, with so much of promise and so much of hope, that soon dissipated as she completed the first term in office. Because of the kind of network her party had right up to the rural areas, particularly in South Bengal, where today we saw the big rally being held by the BJP. A sense of despair has gripped the people in the last few years, and particularly the last few months. And the Lok Sabha elections of 2019 was an eye-opener in the sense BJP emerged as the only opposition in Bengal which was willing to challenge Mamata in terms of her governance record, in terms of her supporting political violence to suppress the opponents, and secondly, I think within the party, she tried to impose her family on the party, a party which she said was full of rank and file. And that is what has happened today. And over these last, since the last Lok Sabha election, more and more TMC leaders are realizing that the people of Bengal are again earning for a change. They are earning for an actual parivartan. And that they see that no other party is able to provide, because Congress and left are more or less, in kind of an understanding, and they do not see it as capable of challenging Mamata. So therefore, BJP has emerged as a political vehicle that can bring a change. Actually, people are fed up. There was a cyclone that hit West Bengal, and they saw the kind of havoc it wreaked and state administration inability to come to the aid of people. So there is a lot of despair, there is a lot of fear, and whether we appreciate it or not, people are seeing hope in BJP, and they are looking at Prime Minister Narendra Modi's leadership of the government of India, and they feel that Bengal can get back to the track of growth. You heard so many of the central government things are not implemented just because Mamata feels that the center should not get any credit. So, you can see there is actually what I saw today in East Medinapur, where this rally was held, was the crowds that came are earning for some hope, some change in the coming months.
Fair enough. Mr. Rajagopalan, but despite whatever is happening, and there's a groundswell for the BJP, and maybe it has, caused some concern for Mamata Banerjee, but she's not saying anything. She had a meeting on Friday, and she's saying that, this is extra baggage within her party that's being disposed of. It's better for her party. She's saying that she's not concerned so much with the desertions. What is your actual reading of the pulse?
The desertions, what Mamata Banerjee is saying is absolutely wrong, because she knows the pulse of Suvendu Adhikari and others who have left them. Now they may be extra luggage, but the same people brought her to power, which she forgets conveniently. Apart from that, the factor of Ms. Narendra Modi is looming large in West Bengal, because during the COVID, when this cyclone affected, it is Mr. Narendra Modi who went to Bengal, spent whole day there with Mamata Banerjee. He gave assistance to Mamata Banerjee. He gave whatever the health center could, release funds. At once he released it. These are all certain things which Bengal voters are recognizing the fact of Ms. Narendra Modi's participation. And second thing, my understanding, Mark, West Bengal is looking for a change, because Mamata is trapped now in between one side BJP, another side Congress. Congress is a dead horse in, deadwood in West Bengal. And as Shekhar said, Mamata Banerjee is caught in a web of her own family members. And now, as Mr. Narendra Modi's 2014 Congress Mukt Bharat and 2019 onwards, he has been going to the states where the family parties are there. He's demolishing one by one. Now West Bengal gone. For that matter, Bihar gone. For that matter, in Tamil Nadu, DMK will be out very soon because of the family hereditary proprietary of the political party. Now, Abhishek Banerjee and Pranab and Prashant Kishore are going to be the enemies of Madam Mamata Banerjee, because they are the persons who are spoiling the Trinamool Congress cadre, which every Bengali voter, every Trinamool Congress voter is understanding that. And that is the reason that conflict, Mr. Amit Shah and the BJP is very cleverly encashing it. And the groundswell for BJP is explicitly clear for the last 4 or 5 months, despite some important daily newspapers going against BJP. Despite that also, people are wanting a change, parivartan.
Fair enough. So you've explained it largely from the point of view of, the problems within the TMC and nepotism within the party and probably some form of mismanagement. But, the Home Minister and senior BJP leader Amit Shah was talking more also about corruption and how it's affected the people of the state. And so obviously, the people to come and support, they may not really be understanding too much about the workings of inner party workings of a political party, but they look for hope and they look for something that can bring them the development. We know that the development of the centre, the policies of the centre have not been implemented for political reasons, as Mr. Shekhar Iyer was saying earlier. So, Mr. Shekhar Iyer, how would you look at the charge made by Amit Shah about corruption in the state?
Well, specifically, the Home Minister referred to the term syndicate.
Yeah.
This is a term that is, it creates fear among many people, many sections of voters in Bengal, because there is a very organized system of collecting funds in the name of building up the party resources. And what has happened is the syndicate is functioning at different levels, where there is a cut in every money that is given to even to the poor people. And we have seen, first there were those chit fund scams in which many of the ruling party members were involved. Then subsequently what has come to light is whether it is relief to farmers, whether it is poor families getting the usual allowances, there is a system which ensures that these people will have to pay a cut. And that cut money runs into crores of rupees, where people feel that corruption has been institutionalized. One of the important slogans given by the rebel leader today, that is by Suvendu Adhikari, was Bhaipo Atao. Bhaipo Atao means remove that nephew. So there is a lot of feeling that this whole structure of extortion and corruption which has been institutionalized in Bengal has some kind of a sanction from the top. And her nephew Abhishek Banerjee has emerged as a very powerful person in the party and in the government, and his word is a kind of a fiat. And many other leaders who built a Trinamool party, whether it is Suvendu Adhikari, earlier we saw other senior leaders, they feel that she has completely allowed this nephew of hers to hijack the party at the cost of people who built the party. After all, Suvendu Adhikari was involved in the movement in Nandigram, and that Nandigram energized the cadres of Trinamool Congress to completely depose the left front, which was in power for more than 3 decades.
Yes, that's an important point that you've raised, Mr. Rajagopal. And how would you look at that? Because, Mamata Banerjee, one understands, is not, some sort of a privileged politician. She's fought her way up to the top. She's defeated the left, which was ruling there for 30 years. And in that sense, she's been a giant killer, and somebody who's developed a certain political constituency, a political weight, and has a reputation. She's not a person to, to fall very easily. In this context, how would you look at this contest that is building up between the BJP and the TMC?
A very tough fight. BJP is giving a very tough fight to Madam Mamata Banerjee. And second thing, as you said, she has been a giant killer, no doubt. And that giant killer instinct was given to her by the BJP only. After Congress and Trinamool came together in UPA, she started to deviate towards the appeasement of minorities. If you see the West Bengal politics, Mark, the entry of OIC, yesterday and day before yesterday, RSS leader Mohan Bhagwat's presence. These are all certain things which is giving jittery to Madam Mamata Banerjee. Top of it, today's Amit Shah's meeting and tomorrow's Amit Shah's meeting, that is going to give her sleepless nights. That reason, which she cannot forget, she might have ruled Bengal for more than 20-25 years. And also, the Narendra Modi's decision to decorate Pranab Mukherjee with Bharat Ratna is also an important aspect. And the controversy of Mr. Pranab Mukherjee's book, in which the son and daughter are also fighting. These are all certain side stories, but the main story is Amit Shah today turned the table against Mamata Banerjee and made it as a Mamata Banerjee versus Narendra Modi, and it is going to be a major fight between the two stalwarts, which I could make out.
Absolutely. So this is a big, it's a heavyweight political fight in that sense. But how would you look, Shekhar Iyer, at the manner in which, Mr. Amit Shah paid respect to the cultural heritage of West Bengal, and how important is this in understanding the politics as well of the place, because it's got a rich cultural heritage and something Bengalis are really proud of. But we've seen that, political violence and these things don't actually go along with that kind of heritage. So, I mean, if we talk about parivartan in that sense, it has to be a change of, living to the higher ideals of some of the greats of the state of West Bengal, people like Swami Vivekananda and Tagore.
Indeed, Mark, Bengal is a land of great nationalists and great spiritualists. You mentioned about Swami Vivekananda and his spiritual guru, Ramakrishna Paramahans.
Yes.
And then you mentioned about Rabindranath Tagore. But the land has been graced by several, people who have contributed in the field of science, whether it is Jagadish Bose or a great freedom fighter like Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. And it was always said that Bengal always was in the forefront of showing the lead. And we also remember the contribution given by Shama Prasad Mukherjee, who was one of the earliest, I would say, Bengal leaders, who was also a member of the Pandit Nehru's cabinet, but who stuck by his principles, where he felt that certain dangers were creeping in that threatened the national unity.
Yes.
Now, what has happened is, over the years, Bengal has been reduced to this cycle of political violence, political domination, and all these legendary heroes, I would say, if they were alive today, they would feel totally ashamed at the state of affairs in Bengal today, which at one time had great administrators, including Chief Minister like B.C. Roy.
Yes.
I mean, there were great people who have led the administration. Today, in terms of governance, in terms of, you can look at there was a time when Bengal was considered one of the most industrialized states. Now today it has come to a situation, first you had the 3 decades of left rule and followed by Mamata's rule. Now no entrepreneur, even from Bengal, would like to even invest a rupee in Bengal because the kind of environment that has been created there. So therefore, people hope that if there is a change of government, at least, their future will be protected and their children will at least get the benefit of good education, good quality of life and living. Today, Bengal is actually crying for, development. A development that is free of this kind of extortions and culture of violence. Mark.
True. So the BJP is moving into the next year's election.
Mark, one second. Can you give me one second?
I'm going to ask you a question, in fact, Mr. Rajagopalan, about the fact that Amit Shah, sat with farmers and he ate food with them. He broke bread, in a sense, with them. How would you look at that particular message at a time like this, when there's a farmers' agitation brewing across the country about reforms? And reforms are the way you bring in development. So, in that context, there must be a message here.
Yeah, there is a message. That's what I was wanting to come.
Yes.
That message is very crystal clear. And if you read what Mr. Amit Shah has taken food with the farmer and also interaction with the farmer, connected with Prime Minister Narendra Modi tweeting in Bengali and also in all Indian languages about the farmers' agitation, and what he spoke yesterday in the Madhya Pradesh meeting, he has tweeted in all Indian languages. What does it indicate? That outreach to the farmers by BJP, by Prime Minister Modi and Mr. Amit Shah are extremely good. And apart from that, to give a postscript of this debate, today Mr. Amit Shah, at the end of his speech, he made one particular remark, which I see a major significance in that, never heard in West Bengal. He said 3 times, Jai Shri Ram. Never heard that in West Bengal because Mamata Banerjee was suppressing that type of movement. Even on the Ayodhya Foundation Day, she was not giving leave to them. She did not give opportunity to the BJP workers, and she imposed curfew. These are all certain problematic things which Mamata Banerjee imposed herself, and that is why she is facing an immense defeat in West Bengal elections.
Okay, we leave it there. Thank you very much, Mr. Rajagopalan and Mr. Shekhar Iyer, for joining us on this discussion and throwing light on the Home Minister Amit Shah's visit to West Bengal in the context of his leader as the leader of the BJP, and also for the prospects of the Bharatiya Janata Party, which is growing as a strong party in West Bengal. Moving on then to our next story. Prime Minister Narendra Modi delivered the keynote address at ASSOCHAM's Foundation Week, and the Prime Minister highlighted the importance of reforms and the goal of building an Atmanirbhar Bharat. The Prime Minister pointed out that the sentiment has shifted from why India to why not India. He called for more investment in R&D.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Saturday highlighted government's reforms spanning from manufacturing to taxation to labour. Delivering the keynote address at ASSOCHAM Foundation Week 2020, PM Modi said global narrative has shifted from why India to why not India.
एक जमाने में हमारे यहाँ जो परिस्थितियां थी, उसके बाद कहा जाने लगा था वाई इंडिया। अब जो रिफॉर्म्स देश में हुए हैं, उनका जो प्रभाव दिखा है, उसके बाद कहा जा रहा है why not India.
Prime Minister pitched for New India, which is relying on its strength and its own resources to become Atmanirbhar Bharat. Special focus of government is on manufacturing sector, and production-linked incentives have been given to boost domestic capabilities and capacity. PM Modi asked the industry captains to increase their investments in R&D, especially in sectors like agriculture, defence, space, energy, construction, pharma and transport sector.
इंडस्ट्री के भीतर भी आपको रिफॉर्म्स को एनकरेज करना होगा। जितनी ट्रांसपेरेंसी आप सरकार से, सोसाइटी से चाहते हैं, उतना ही इंडस्ट्री के भीतर सुनिश्चित करना ही है। R&D पर निवेश बढ़ाए जाने की बहुत जरूरत है। अमेरिका जैसे देश में जहां 70% निवेश प्राइवेट सेक्टर का होता है, हमारे यहां इतना ही पब्लिक सेक्टर द्वारा किया जाता है। आज जरूरत यह है कि R&D में प्राइवेट सेक्टर की भागीदारी बढ़े। कृषि, डिफेंस।
Addressing the ASSOCHAM Foundation Week, PM Modi highlighted that India played pharmacy of the world during COVID-19. From farmers to pharma, India has helped world during COVID-19. India received record FDI amidst pandemic. There is special focus on physical and digital infrastructure in the country. Government is moving forward on the mission mode to make local a global one.
आज जब लोकल को ग्लोबल बनाने के लिए हम मिशन मोड पर आगे बढ़ रहे हैं, तो हमें हर जियो पॉलिटिकल डेवलपमेंट पर तेजी से रिएक्ट करना होगा। ग्लोबल सप्लाई चेन में आने वाली किसी भी अचानक आई डिमांड को भारत कैसे पूरा करेगा, इसके लिए एक प्रभावी मैकेनिज्म होना जरूरी है। मैं आपसे आग्रह करूंगा कि ग्लोबल ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन पर तेजी से रिएक्ट करने के लिए, तेजी से रिस्पॉन्स करने के लिए मैकेनिज्म बेहतर कैसे हो, इसके लिए आप हमें अवश्य अपने सुझाव दें।
Prime Minister said the government can provide the necessary facilities, create the right environment, give incentives and change policies. But it is the industry partners who can convert this support into success. Industry titans led by Ratan Tata hailed Prime Minister Modi's vision as a key driving force for industry in India. Former Tata Group Chairman Ratan Tata praised the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, saying he has not faltered and led the country from the front foot during the COVID-19 pandemic.
To thank you, sir, for leading the country through this difficult period. I think if we all stand together and follow what you have said, what you have done, what you have shown, we will have a situation where the world will look at us and say, this Prime Minister said it could happen and he made it happen.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi presented the ASSOCHAM Enterprise of the Century Award for Ratan Tata, who accepted the award on behalf of the entire Tata Group. With Bureau Inputs, Arun Sharma's report, DD India.
The Defence Minister Rajnath Singh criticised Pakistan for its nefarious activities on the border, and he pointed out that India's western neighbour had been fighting a proxy war through terrorism despite losing 4 wars to India. Rajnath Singh attended the passing out parade at the Air Force Academy in Dundigal in Telangana.
The occasion, combined graduation parade at Air Force Academy in Dundigal. Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh taking salute as the chief guest. He described the Indian Air Force as one that has a glorious history. It has always displayed episodes of gallantry.
देश की संप्रभुता, एकता और अखंडता की रक्षा के लिए इंडियन एयरफोर्स ने जरूरत पड़ने पर दुश्मनों के हौसले पस्त करने वाले शौर्य और पराक्रम का परिचय दिया है। 71 के बांग्लादेश मुक्ति संग्राम और लोंगेवाला में आपका प्रदर्शन और हाल ही में बालाकोट के कुछ ऐसे अध्याय हैं जो न केवल वायुसेना के बल्कि हमारे देश के इतिहास के गोल्डन चैप्टर्स माने जाएंगे।
Rajnath Singh also presented wings to about 100 flight cadets, including 3 from friendly countries who've passed out from Air Force Academy. He urged them to be ready for future challenges and asked to equip themselves with emerging technology. Stating that the war patterns and strategies are changing, the minister asked the newly commissioned flying officers of the Air Force to be prepared for newer and emerging challenges like cyberspace warfare. Referring to the India-China standoff, Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh asserted that New India is capable of giving a fitting reply to anyone who attempts aggression against the country. He said India has always been a peace-loving country, but if someone attempts to disturb the country, we're always ready to give them a befitting reply.
नॉर्दर्न सेक्टर में हाल ही में हुए इंडो चाइना स्टैंड ऑफ से भी आप अच्छी तरह परिचित हैं। कोविड जैसे संकट के समय में चीन का यह रवैया उस देश की नीयत को दर्शाता है। यह एक नया भारत है जो किसी भी तरह के ट्रांसग्रेशन, एग्रेशन या सीमाओं पर किसी तरह के यूनिलैटरल एक्शन का माकूल और मुकम्मल जवाब देने की कुव्वत रखता है। हम किसी भी विवाद का समाधान शांतिपूर्ण और बातचीत के जरिए ही निकालने में विश्वास रखते हैं। दोनों देशों के बीच मिलिट्री और डिप्लोमेटिक चैनल्स के जरिए बातचीत हो रही है। मैं आज के इस अवसर पर फिर से कहना चाहूंगा कि हम संघर्ष नहीं बल्कि हम शांति चाहते हैं, मगर देश के स्वाभिमान पर किसी तरह की चोट हम बर्दाश्त नहीं करेंगे। हम किसी भी स्थिति का मुकाबला करने के लिए पूरी तरह से तैयार हैं।
Raksha Mantri also attacked Pakistan and said that even after losing 4 wars, the country is still fighting proxy wars with India through terrorism.
पाकिस्तान से लगती सीमाओं पर आए दिन हमारा पड़ोसी कुछ न कुछ नापाक हरकतें करता रहता है। एक नहीं बल्कि 4 युद्धों में मात खाने के बाद भी हमारा पड़ोसी अब पाकिस्तान आतंकवाद के जरिए एक प्रॉक्सी वार लड़ रहा है। आतंकवाद की चुनौती के खिलाफ हमारी सेना, सुरक्षा बल और पुलिस पूरी मुस्तैदी के साथ मुकाबला कर रहे हैं। मैं उनका भी अभिनंदन करना चाहता हूं। बालाकोट में इंडियन एयरफोर्स ने आतंकवाद के खिलाफ प्रभावी कार्रवाई करके सारी दुनिया को भारतीय सेना की ताकत और आतंक के खिलाफ उसके मजबूत इरादों से परिचित करा दिया है।
Raksha Mantri highlighted the measures taken by the centre to strengthen the armed forces of the country. He said talks in the direction of air defence and maritime command are in the advanced stage. The current 206th course also happens to be the 100th course to pass out from the portals of the Air Force Academy, which will be celebrating its Golden Jubilee in 2021. News Night Desk, DD India.
The 8th and final round of the District Development Council polls concluded in Jammu and Kashmir today, sealing the fate of 168 candidates. So elections were held in this round for 28 seats, and counting for all the seats will be held on December 22.
With the completion of the 8th phase of District Development Council in Jammu and Kashmir, all eyes are set on December 22. The voting for the 8th and final phase of the DDC election took place amidst dense fog and bitter cold. The participation of women and youth along with elderly was also seen in large numbers.
All over Jammu and Kashmir, a large number of voters, as I said, 3,21,690 voters have come out of their homes to cast vote. The weather has been generally good. Still, Kashmir is freezing. There have been -0 temperature also at some places, but people came in the morning.
They were in long queues with the hope of development, with the hope of betterment, with the hope of getting their dreams fulfilled. And above all, the most important thing is they are happy that this time in these elections a common man gets a chance to fight election.
तो यहाँ पर हमने वोट डाला, हम सुबह आए.
अभी जो ये वोट है हम खुद होके इसमें पार्टिसिपेट कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि यहाँ पे जो आज तक खानदानी राज चल रहा था उसको हम बाहर करना चाह रहे हैं. तो इंडिपेंडेंट कैंडिडेट्स को इस बार मौका दिया गया है.
खुशी, पानी खुशी. हाँ.
Talking about polling for the earlier 7 phases of District Development Council in Jammu and Kashmir, except for the second phase of polling on December 1, all the phases saw more than 50% voting. The highest voting percentage was recorded during the 7th phase on 16th December, in which 57.22% voters exercised their franchise.
Jammu and Kashmir creating history in DDC elections, and credit goes to these voters who are coming in each phase in large number from different terrains. Despite this harsh cold weather, they are coming before time and they are exercising their right to vote, and after a long time they have got this kind of right, this kind of atmosphere. And DDC election, they are being held first time in the history of Jammu and Kashmir.
The 8th and final phase saw voting for a total of 28 District Development Council areas. They include 13 from Kashmir and 15 from Jammu region. Polling conducted was peaceful in all the 8 phases, which shows that the people of Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir want peace and development in the region. Rama Tyagi's report, DD India.
Well, out of the 36 seats for the polls to the Thiwa Autonomous Council, the Bharatiya Janata Party won 33 seats, while the Assam Gana Parishad managed to win 2 seats. The Congress won 1 seat. The result was declared on Saturday evening in Assam, and the BJP has wrested 16 seats in Nagaon district, while the AGP won 2 seats. BJP cadres and workers were jubilant. They were celebrating the success at the hustings. Also, while in Morigaon district, the BJP had got 16 seats and 1 seat was uncontested and went to the BJP. The BJP president, JP Nadda, tweeted, "Thank you, Assam, for this massive mandate to the BJP in the Thiwa Autonomous Council elections. Assam is progressing towards a brighter future, and the people continue to keep their faith in the vision of Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji. Congratulations to Sarbanand Sonowal, Himanta Biswa and team BJP for Assam." President Ramnath Kovind on Saturday attended the 60th Goa Liberation Day celebrations at Panaji in Goa. On the day, Goa was liberated from the rule of the Portuguese. While addressing the gathering, the president said that the liberation struggle of Goa was not only for civil liberties but for a united India.
गोवा की मुक्ति का संघर्ष केवल नागरिक स्वतंत्रता के लिए ही नहीं था, वह भारत के साथ फिर से एकाकार होने की अभिलाषा की पूर्ति का संघर्ष भी था। इस अभिलाषा की अभिव्यक्ति मुक्ति संघर्ष में तिरंगे के उपयोग में साफ दिखाई देती थी। राजनीतिक संघर्ष के लिए गांधीवादी मार्ग को अपनाना भी इसी भावनात्मक एकता का परिचायक था। 17 दिसंबर 1961 को ऑपरेशन विजय शुरू हुआ। 2 दिन बाद यानी आज के ही दिन 19 दिसंबर को गोवा के गवर्नर जनरल मैनुअल एंटोनियो वासालो दा सिल्वा ने समर्पण कर दिया। गोवा फिर से भारत का अंग बन गया और मुक्त हो गया।
President Ramnath Kovind expressed happiness that Goa is on the top of the per capita income in the country.
आज गोवा जब अपनी आजादी के 60वें वर्ष में प्रवेश कर रहा है तो यह देखकर गर्व होता है कि प्रति व्यक्ति आय के मामले में ये राज्य देश में पहले स्थान पर है। इसका श्रेय गोवा के मेहनती लोगों, जनप्रतिनिधियों, जन सेवकों तथा उद्योग क्षेत्र को जाता है। यह उपलब्धि किसी एक व्यक्ति की नहीं है, किसी एक विशेष संस्था की नहीं है, किसी कार्यकाल की नहीं है, बल्कि गोवा जब से मुक्त हुआ है तब से ये विकास की यात्रा चलती है। और मैं कह सकता हूं कि ये उपलब्धि कठिन प्रयासों के बल पर प्राप्त हुई है और इसमें वर्तमान एवं पूर्ववर्ती सरकारों का भी महत्वपूर्ण योगदान रहा है।
And now news from around the country. Here's our national roundup.
Congress leader Jairam Ramesh has tendered an apology to Vivek Doval, the son of National Security Advisor Ajit Doval, in connection with a criminal defamation case. Vivek Doval had filed a criminal defamation complaint against the Caravan magazine and Ramesh for allegedly defaming him through an article and a press conference. However, the case against the magazine will continue. Enforcement Directorate has attached the assets worth over 12 crore rupees of National Conference President Farooq Abdullah in connection with the Jammu and Kashmir Cricket Association money laundering case. The former Chief Minister refuted the agency's charges and said the seizures would be challenged in court. National Investigation Agency has filed a charge sheet against 6 Pakistani nationals and 1 Indian in an ongoing case of seizure of 237 kgs of narcotics from a Pakistan-based vessel from Gujarat in May 2019. Pakistani nationals were booked under relevant sections of the IPC. Pakistani troops violated the ceasefire on Saturday with unprovoked firing and mortar shelling on forward posts and villages along the line of control in J&K's Poonch district. The Indian Army retaliated befittingly to silence the Pakistani guns. Election Commission of India has sent an advisory to Chief Secretaries and Chief Electoral Officers of 5 poll-bound states on transfer and posting of officers connected with the conduct of elections. The states include Andhra Pradesh, Arunachal Pradesh, Odisha, West Bengal and Sikkim. The tenure of these 5 poll-bound states will expire either in May or June 2021.
Well, the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh ideologue M.G. Vaidya passed away after a brief illness in Nagpur on Saturday. He was 97 and was undergoing treatment at a hospital where he breathed his last at 3:35 p.m. Dr. Manmohan Vaidya, the Joint General Secretary of the RSS and the son of M.G. Vaidya, tweeted saying, "Shri M.G. Vaidya, my father, breathed his last today at 3:35 p.m. at Nagpur after completing 97 years of active, meaningful and inspiring life. He was a veteran journalist, a Hindutva Bhashyakar and an active Sangh Swayamsevak for 9 decades." Prime Minister Narendra Modi tweeted his condolences. He wrote, "Shri M.G. Vaidya ji was a distinguished writer and journalist. He contributed extensively to the RSS for decades. He also worked to strengthen the BJP. Saddened by his demise, condolences to his family and admirers. Om Shanti." The BJP State Kisan Morcha executive body has drawn up an elaborate plan to connect with dissenting farmers and explain the new farm reforms to them. The focus will be on clarifying that direct selling to the buyer is profitable and will not harm their interests. The committee has decided to set up Gram awareness teams as well as to encourage farmers to connect with agri startups to buy their produce directly at satisfying rates. Our correspondent Aisha Khanam spoke to the Minister of State for Revenue and Kisan Morcha State President R. Ashok. Here are the details.
The state BJP Right Morcha is, Kisan Morcha is in a meeting, and they have made a strategy to go forward and take the message of the new farm bills to the farmers. Do you think these farmers will be able to be convinced by you, by the party and also the Kisan Morcha, which is taking forward the message?
Yeah, we already started to real thing. What is the real thing? What Congress saying? There's the double game. What they say, win the power. They're saying the APMC bill must be implemented. Yes. Now they have gone to opposition party. Because of opposition party, he is opposing. Yes. So double standard Congress statement, we are condemning that statement. What is the reality in the APMC Act and Farmer Act? This is very farmer friendly. It's a farmer friendly act.
BJP is now making effort to bring all the other farmers who have been protesting at the behest of Congress in different parts of the state, to bring all these farmers on the same page.
Well, the 13-day strike staged by the BJP mayors demanding the release of 13,000 crore rupees in dues from the Delhi government was called off on Saturday. The Union Minister Hardeep Singh Puri offered fruit juice to protesting lawmakers and urged them to call off the strike. However, the BJP will continue to protest against the AAP government to release the fund. The MCD mayors and 22 councillors from the BJP were protesting outside the Chief Minister's residence for almost 2 weeks.
13 दिन के बाद हम ये हमारा आपने इनका जो मैसेज है लोगों तक पहुंचाया और ये जो आंदोलन है ये जारी रहेगा और हम और तरीकों से भी इसको दिल्ली की जनता के सामने रखते आएंगे और मैं ये उम्मीद रखता हूं कि माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी अभी भी देयर कैन बी अ चेंज ऑफ हार्ट, शायद उनको समझ आ जाए और वो समझ लें कितनी ये गंभीर स्थिति है और उनका जो कर्तव्य बनता है उसको आगे रखें और ये दिल्ली के जो नागरिक हैं उनकी जो प्रॉब्लम्स हैं उनकी सॉल्यूशन ढूंढें.
News now about the continued battle against the coronavirus. The Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan chaired a meeting of the GOM on COVID, and while hailing the corona warriors and India's high recovery rate and low death rate, the Minister Dr. Harshvardhan said that we need to be expeditious in vaccinating 30 crore of our target population.
India's active caseload has fallen to 3.09% of the total active cases. On a steady decline, India's active caseload further contracted to 3.08 lakh. Union Minister of Health and Family Welfare, Dr. Harshvardhan, on Saturday chaired the 22nd meeting of the high-level group of ministers on COVID-19 via video conferencing. Dr. Harshvardhan informed his colleagues of the gains made by the country's public health system against COVID and the encouraging results so far.
अमेरिका का रिकवरी रेट 58% है, इटली का रिकवरी रेट 63% है, रशिया का रिकवरी रेट 79 यानी 79% है और ब्राज़ील का रिकवरी रेट 86% है. हमारा रिकवरी रेट दुनिया में सबसे ज़्यादा 95.46% है.
The Health Minister observed that despite festivals in the month of October-November, no new surge of cases was observed in this period due to comprehensive testing, tracking and treatment policy implemented on the ground.
दुनिया के बाकी देशों के मुकाबले हमने भी अपनी इंडिजिनस वैक्सीन को डेवलप कर दिया है. वैक्सीन किसी भी समय आने वाले जो हफ्ते हैं या आने वाले 1-2 महीने के अंदर हम इस स्थिति में आएंगे कि हम वैक्सीन अपने देश के लोगों को प्रायोरिटाइज करके हेल्थ वर्कर्स को, फ्रंटलाइन वर्कर्स को, 50 साल से ऊपर के लोगों को और आने वाले समय में अगले 6 से 7-8 महीनों के बीच में लगभग 30 करोड़ लोगों को वैक्सीन देने की हम स्थिति में होंगे.
At the GOM, Director of the NCDC presented a detailed report on how the data-driven graded government policies have helped India achieve a significant control over the pandemic. Dr. Vinod K. Paul, Member Health of the Niti Aayog, apprised the GOM on 3 critical aspects of vaccination: the process of preclinical and clinical trial of all vaccines, the details of all the 6 vaccine candidates undergoing trial in India. He also shared the details of the composition of the target populations in India in terms of age, occupation and comorbidities and how they compare with other countries and WHO's recommendations. Dr. Paul also briefed the GOM about requests for vaccines received by the Ministry of External Affairs from 12 other countries. Union Health Secretary Rajesh Bhushan noted the importance of health-seeking behavior among the population as a key driver in checking fertility, explaining the paradox of some states and UTs reporting very high cases but minimal fertilities while others reporting low cases but comparatively high fertilities. He said this phenomenon results from people not coming forward for testing even if they are symptomatic in the second category of states. Life is also coming back to normal in various parts of the country. Schools and universities are being opened at many places in the country. In Karnataka, the government has decided to reopen the schools in the state as per recommendation by the Technical Advisory Committee submitted to the government. Class 10th and 12th will begin from Jan 1st in Karnataka.
This Technical Advisory Committee has been giving necessary guidelines, guiding us, and necessary suggestions all through this COVID period.
On Saturday, India crossed another milestone in its fight against the pandemic. India's cumulative COVID-19 tests have crossed the 16 crore mark. With input from Natendra Singh, Bureau Report, Newsnight Desk, DD India.
The Indian Panorama Film Section for the 51st International Film Festival of India 2020 has been announced. A total of 43 films will be screened, including 23 feature films and 20 non-feature films. The Information Broadcasting Minister tweeted this information, and IFFI will be held from January 16 to January 24 in Goa.
The selection of Indian Panorama films for the 51st International Film Festival of India has been announced. The selected films will be showcased on the big screen for all the registered delegates and representatives from the selected films during the 8 days film festival in Goa. The Indian Panorama feature film jury selected 20 feature films. Jury's choice for the opening feature film of Indian Panorama 2020 is Sant Ki Aankh, directed by Tushar Hiranandani. The story of shooter dadis Chandro and Prakashi Tomar of Jhori village in Baghpat, UP has reached the stage of IFFI. Information and Broadcasting Minister Prakash Javadekar expressed happiness on Twitter. He said, "Happy to announce the selection of 23 feature and 20 non-feature films in Indian Panorama of 51st IFFI. The feature film jury, comprising 12 members, was headed by acclaimed filmmaker, screenwriter and producer John Matthew Methan. Selected from a wide pool of 183 contemporary Indian films, the collection of films reflects the vibrancy and diversity of Indian film industry. Neel Madhav Panda's Odia language film Kalida Atita and Govind Nihalani's Up, Up and Up will also be screened. Films also include Bridge in Assamese, Avijatrik in Bangla, Pinky Eli in Kannada, Trance in Malayalam and Pravas in Marathi. 3 mainstream films have also been selected for the Indian Panorama section, including Chichore, starring late actor Sushant Singh Rajput, Vetri Maran's Asuran and Malayalam film Kapela. The non-feature jury, headed by famous feature and documentary filmmaker Haubam Pavan Kumar, has named Ankit Kothari directed Panchika as the inaugural film of the non-feature film category. Kamakhya Narayan Singh directed Justice Delayed But Delivered, Pratik Gupta directed Shantabai, Radha directed by Bimal Poddar, and 20 films including Ashmita Guha Negi's Cat Dog, which won the award at the 73rd Cannes Festival, will be in the non-feature film category. Selected from a diverse pool of 143 contemporary Indian non-feature films, the package of films exemplify the capacity of our emerging and established filmmakers to document, investigate, entertain and also reflect contemporary Indian values. The 9-day film festival was scheduled to be held in Goa from 20th to 28th November this year, but was postponed due to coronavirus pandemic, and now the festival will be held from 16 January to 24 January 2021. The event in Goa can be viewed online, while the opening and closing ceremonies will be held at the location with a small number of audience. Vijaya Sinha, Newsnight Desk, DD India.
Australia beat India by 8 wickets in Adelaide, taking the lead in the series with 1-0. Josh Hazlewood and Pat Cummins did a mind-blowing job with the ball. In the first session, the Indian batsmen simply couldn't cope against them and ended up with only 36 for 9 in their second innings. That's the lowest score that India has ever made in a test match. And Australia needed 90 runs to win. They reached that target with a loss of just 2 wickets. Joe Burns remained unbeaten on 51. Australia have now taken a 1-0 lead in this 4-test series. And with that, we conclude Newsnight for tonight. But before we go, let's remind you that it's always safe to wear a mask. So it's a simple task. Just wear a mask, be safe, and keep others around you as well safe. Namaskar, and thanks for watching. Namaskar.